Hey everyone, my name is Sebastian and this is my first video on the Spirit Crest channel. Today I'm going to talk about how I built my first ski. I bought all the materials for my ski on theskilab.com and I bought enough material for 4 skis. I figured that the first pair of skis was going to be a little bit scrappy and the second pair I was going to get right and be able to use. So on that same note, I built a press that was only able to handle 1 ski at a time, so in case I made a mistake, I wasn't wrecking 2 pairs of skis, I was only wrecking 1. So this is the first ski that I built, and you can see it's a little bit rough, but I learned a lot of things from it that I integrated in the second and third ski. One of which was that the core slipped during the pressing process, so that it's not aligned with the base. I corrected this in the second and third ski by cutting the core afterwards instead of cutting the shape into the core immediately, just because I didn't have a fixing mechanism. So that helped me solve that. The first ski I also just did a traditional camber design. It was the first ski I made, so I didn't really know what to go for. So I just chose the standard one. The second ski I built looks a little bit better, but I still had some slippage issues. This time it was only the design that I have on top that slipped a little bit. But on the second ski I also did some things that I improved upon on the third ski, not the least of which was the distribution of the pressure from the fire hoses. So in my press I used 2 fire hoses that pressed down on the ski, and it left kind of like a speed bump on my ski. I'm gonna have to probably sand that down in order to put the bindings on smoothly. In the next ski I built cat racks and made sure that would distribute the weight properly and left a flat surface at the end. So here's my third ski and the best ski that I built. It's very comparable to the second ski. I didn't change very much on the press on that one, and I didn't change anything to the process either. I had the core that was different from the first ski for the second and third ski. It was a laminated core, whereas the first one I just used a single type of wood. In this one I used 3 types of wood with poplar, ash on the sides, and maple on the edges. That was just to reduce some weight and make sure that I have maple on the edges for a good power transfer. For the second and third ski, I went for a cambered rocker design for the front and back tips. Yeah, I just wanted it to be something that I could go touring with on the mountain. I don't have a ski for that, so I figured why not build a pair of skis for that. So now let's get into how I built the ski. For the first ski, as I was saying, I cut the shape that I wanted out of the core and the base. For the second and third ski, I only cut the base. This is something that I would improve on in a future iteration, is that the base actually flexes more than I'd like, so it takes away that radius, that turning radius that you want to get into the ski if ever you're on a slope or something. In powder snow, I don't think it's going to change that much, but I'll let you know how it goes. So for this one, I started out by making a stencil out of just A4 paper. I taped it all together. It's kind of tedious, and I made a wooden stencil then. I used that wooden stencil to cut out the base material with a router, and then I cut off an extra 2 millimeters on the entire side of it to be able to attach the strengthened metal edges. And so once I had that done, I needed to fasten the metal edges to the base layer, and I did that with clips all around. So that was fairly simple. I used the marine grade resin for all of this. It was just really accessible to me and cheaper than the ski resin. So I used the clips all around, and the only tricky part there was to bend the metal edges into shape at the tips. I wanted it to go all the way around the tips in case I scratch on the rock or something, and I didn't want the metal edge to just tear out. So once you had the core and the base figured out, you could get to, once you had your graphics as well, you could get to pressing your ski. And so what you do with that is you use your base, you use a plastic sheet to lay down on your press, just to make sure that you're not gluing your ski to the press. Then you lay down your base on top of that, and then there's a little bit of a rubber strip that goes along the metal edges. It's just to make sure that you don't lose lamination, so you don't want the ski to come apart. Then you put a first layer of carbon fiber along the length of the ski, and you soak that in resin. And then what comes next is the core and the tip fillers. So they just kind of get laid on, and you kind of want to make sure that the tip fillers and the core have good contact. So you just want to make sure that it's pushed in there. And then you put another layer of carbon fiber. I made sure that I put some finer mesh carbon fiber on the tips, just to make sure that I get very good contact with the filler material and the core. And next, you soak that in resin as well, and then you put on your graphics. I used 2 graphics from Walmart, so they're just 2 posters that I cut in half, and I used half of them on one ski and half of them on the other ski. So I used that, and then you put your top sheet on there, and you press it. And so something that went a little bit wonky on this one was as I mentioned, was the turning radius. It didn't quite turn out the way it was. One edge is a little bit flatter on the one ski, and the other ski is a little bit too turned. So it didn't quite turn out as symmetric as I hoped. But other than that, I was pretty happy with the outcome. I was a little bit messy. I used a resin that had a working time of about 15 minutes, which was a little bit quick, and it made me rush some things. So it is a little bit rough in some areas, but overall I was really happy. It's the 3rd ski that I made, and the outcome was really sweet. Just for the touch-ups, I recoated all the edges with some epoxy, just to make sure that the wood doesn't get exposed to water. That's something that's really essential. If the wood starts getting exposed to water, it starts swelling and you get some rotting. So you really don't want that. So yeah, that sums up on how I made my ski. Thanks for watching.